electric motor. We know that there are various forms of energy, and energy can be converted from one form to another. A device changing electrical energy into mechanical energy is known as electric motor. In our day-to-day life, an electric motor is considered as a boon. It is used in fans, refrigerators, mixers, washing machines, computers, pumps, etc. But do you know, how does this motor work? An electric motor works on the principle that a current-carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field experiences a force. To know how does it happen in electric motor, let us study the construction of an electric motor. The electric motor consists of a rectangular loop ABCD of copper wire having resistive coating. This loop is placed between the north pole and south pole of a horseshoe-type magnet in such a way that its branches AB and CD are perpendicular to the direction of magnetic field. A device which reverses the direction of current through a circuit is called a split ring. The two ends of the loop are connected to the two halves X and Y of the split ring. The two halves of the ring have resistive coating on their inner surfaces and are tightly fitted on the axle. The two halves of the split ring X and Y have their outer conducting surfaces in contact with the two stationary carbon brushes E and F respectively. A battery is connected to the carbon brushes. Do you know why are carbon brushes used and how do these brushes work? Come, let us answer this question first. The battery wires cannot be connected directly to the two halves of the split ring to pass current into the coil, because when the current passes through the loop and it starts rotating, the connecting wires will get twisted. Thus, to pass in electric current to the loop, two carbon strips E and F known as brushes are used. The carbon brushes E and F are fixed to the base of the motor and they press lightly against the two halves of the split rings. The battery which supplies the current to the loop is connected to the two carbon brushes E and F. The function of carbon brushes is to make contact with the rotating split rings and to supply current to the loop through the split rings. Let us now proceed to understand the working of the motor. Initially, the rectangular loop ABCD is in the horizontal position. The direction of the magnetic field is from north pole to south pole. When an electric current is passed into the loop ABCD, the currents in the branches AB and CD are perpendicular to the magnetic field produced by the magnet. Thus, the direction of the current in the branch DC is in the inward direction. According to Fleming's left-hand rule, a force is exerted on the branch DC and pushes it down. The current in the branch BA is in the opposite direction to that in the branch DC. Therefore, a force is exerted on the branch BA in the upward direction. Thus, loop and axle start rotating in a clockwise direction. The force acting on the loop make the plane of the loop rotate till it is perpendicular to the field. At this position, the contact between the two halves of the split ring and brushes break. So the current flowing through the loop is cut off and there is no force acting on the coil. But the loop continues to rotate because of its inertia. After half rotation, the two halves of the split ring X and Y again come in contact with the carbon brushes F and E respectively. The current starts flowing through the loop once again. Now the forces acting on the branch BA and DC are in the opposite directions and the coil is further rotated. The current in the loop is reversed after each half rotation and the loop and the axle continue to rotate in the clockwise direction. Thus, the electrical energy is used to rotate coil. Commercial motors run on the same principle, but practical changes are made in their construction, which we shall learn later. Come, let us now proceed further to study the next concept. Electromagnetic induction. We have already studied that if we keep an electric conductor in a magnetic field such that the direction of the current flowing through the conductor is perpendicular to the magnetic field, then a force is exerted on the conductor. Due to this, the conductor moves. But what will happen if an electric conductor is moving in a magnetic field or the magnetic field around the stationary conductor is changing? In order to find out an answer to this question, research was done by the great scientist Michael Faraday. In the year 1831, Faraday showed that an electric current can be produced in a conductor with the help of a moving magnet. Come, let us know something more about this great scientist. Introduction to Scientist. Michael Faraday was an experimental scientist. He was not formally educated. Teenager Michael started working in a bookbinding shop. While reading books there, he got interested in science. Sir Humphrey Davy appointed him as a laboratory assistant in the Royal Institute, London. There he discovered the laws of electromagnetic induction and the laws of electrolysis. Several universities offered him honorary degree, but Faraday refused to accept such honors. Before proceeding further to learn more about electromagnetic induction, let us study about an current detecting and measuring instrument. Galvanometer. Galvanometer is a sensitive device used to detect the presence of the current. It works on the principle that the current-carrying conductor in a magnetic field experiences a force. Some electrical measurements can be done using the galvanometer. A coil is positioned between the pole pieces of a magnet in such a way that the pointer on the galvanometer dial is connected to it. When a small current, as that of 1 milliampere, flows through the coil will rotate. The rotation will be proportional to the current. Voltmeter and ammeter also work on the same principle. In galvanometer, the pointer deflects on both the sides of the zero mark depending on the direction of the current. After understanding about galvanometer, let us now do some activities to study about the electromagnetic induction. Activity. Let us first take a long copper wire, a bar magnet, and a galvanometer. Now we shall keep two stands at some distance from each other and fix each end of the copper wire with each stand. Let us consider this position of the copper wire as position A. Connect one wire from one end of the copper wire and connect it to the positive terminal of the galvanometer. Let us connect other end of the copper wire to the negative terminal of the galvanometer. Keep the bar magnet erect in such a way that one of its poles is below the copper wire. Let us now shift one of the stand away from the magnet so that the wire becomes taut. Let us consider this position as B. Observe the galvanometer. What do you see? We see that the pointer in the galvanometer gets deflected and quickly comes back to zero. Now shift the stand near the magnet so that the wire again comes to position A. Now observe the galvanometer. The galvanometer again shows a quick deflection, but this time it is in the opposite direction. If we keep on moving the wire from A to B, the pointer in the galvanometer gets deflected. This is called Faraday's electromagnetic induction. Let us now keep the wire fixed. We shall now move the magnet away from the wire. On observing the pointer in the galvanometer, we see that the pointer in the galvanometer shows deflection to one side of the zero mark. Now we shall again move the magnet towards the wire and observe the pointer in the galvanometer. This time the galvanometer pointer shows deflection in the opposite direction. Thus, from this activity, we understand that if a conducting wire is kept moving in a magnetic field, a current is produced in it. Also, current is produced if the magnet is moved around the fixed wire. Come, let us now do another activity. Activity. Let us first take one rectangular loop and one solenoid coil. Now connect the solenoid coil to a battery through a plug key. Keep the plug key open. Let us connect the rectangular loop to the galvanometer. Now close the plug key and observe the galvanometer. The galvanometer shows a quick deflection on one side and again comes back to zero. Why does this happen? The current flowing in the solenoid coil produces a magnetic field around the rectangular loop. Now keep the plug key open. What do we notice? We will notice a quick deflection on the other side of zero mark and the pointer again coming back to zero. Let us now close the plug key and let the current flow through the solenoid coil. Displace the solenoid coil laterally with respect to the rectangular loop. Observe the galvanometer. We see that the pointer in the galvanometer deflects quickly and comes back to zero. This means the current is still produced in the rectangular loop. Now we shall move the solenoid coil longitudinally, that is, first towards the loop. Do we see any deflection in the galvanometer? Yes. Pointer of the galvanometer shows a quick deflection and comes back to zero. Let us now move the solenoid coil away from the loop and observe the galvanometer. There is a quick deflection in the galvanometer on the other side of the zero mark. If we keep on moving the solenoid towards and away from the loop at a faster rate, we observe that faster is the displacement of the solenoid, larger is the deflection of the pointer of the galvanometer. Thus, we can infer that whenever electric current in one coil starts or stops, then an electric current is produced in the nearby coil. Let us now change the amount of current flowing through the solenoid coil by keeping the solenoid coil stationary. We shall connect the rheostat in series with the battery. Let us now change the current passing through the solenoid coil and observe the galvanometer. What do we see? We see a quick deflection in the galvanometer and the pointer returns to zero. This indicates that even if the solenoid coil is kept stationary, a change in current in the solenoid coil produces a current in the loop. After a series of activities based on electromagnetic induction, now it's time to study Faraday's law of induction. Faraday's law of induction. If a current is switched on or off in the solenoid coil, a current is induced in the coil. Such induction is also observed when the current in the solenoid coil is increased or decreased. Current is induced in the coil when it is moved aside from the front of the solenoid. From all these experiments that we have performed, it is understood that whenever the number of magnetic lines of force passing through the coil changes, current is induced in the coil. This is known as Faraday's law of induction. The current produced in the coil is called the induced current. We have seen that the current is induced in a conductor kept in a magnetic field. But when will the induced current in the electrical conductor be maximum? It will be maximum when the direction of the motion of the electric conductor is perpendicular to the magnetic field. Come, let us now understand how to find out the direction of induced current. Fleming's right-hand rule. In order to show the direction of the induced current, Fleming's right-hand rule is very useful. According to Fleming's right-hand rule, stretch the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger of your right hand in such a way that they will be perpendicular to each other. In this position, the thumb indicates the direction of the motion of the conductor, the index finger points in the direction of the magnetic field, and the middle finger shows the direction of the induced current. Let us now proceed further. Alternating current, AC, and direct current, DC. Till now, we have studied about a non-oscillatory current flowing in one direction. This current flows through a circuit from cell to cell. If the current flows in one direction only, then such a current is called a direct current. It is written in short form as DC. Whereas, a current which changes its magnitude and direction after equal intervals of time is called alternating current. It is written in short form as AC. The direct current can increase, can be stable, or can reduce also, but it is not oscillatory. This can be shown graphically as shown here. On the other hand, alternating current is oscillatory. It increases to a maximum, then reduces to zero, and increases to maximum in the other direction, and again reduces to zero. The oscillation of the alternating current occurs in a sinusoidal manner with time, and hence is shown by this symbol. Direct current flows in one direction, but the alternating current flows in periodic manner in one cycle in forward and reverse directions. Most of the power stations in India generate alternating current. In India, in the power stations generating electricity, one cycle changes in 1/52nd. That means the frequency of AC is 50 Hz. That is, 50 cycles per second. When the electric power is transmitted over a long distance, it is beneficial to have it in AC form as it can be transmitted over long distances without much loss of electrical energy. The electricity received in our homes is of alternating current, that is AC. After learning about the alternating current and direct current, let us now proceed further to study about the electric generator. Electric generator. We performed the experiments based on electromagnetic induction. In these experiments, the magnitude of the induced current was very small. But the principle that we learnt in these experiments can be harnessed for the use of mankind to produce large current. Here, mechanical energy is used to rotate the current-carrying coil placed in a magnetic field around an axle, thereby producing electricity. There are two types of electric generators, such as AC generator and DC generator. In an AC generator, mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy in the form of alternating current. Whereas in a DC generator, mechanical energy is converted into electrical energy in the form of direct current. Let us first study the construction and working of AC generator first. The main components of AC generator are a copper coil ABCD, strong magnet, conducting rings and carbon brushes. A copper coil ABCD of rectangular shape is kept between the magnet. The two ends of the coil are connected to the conducting rings R1 and R2 via carbon brushes. Both the rings are fixed to the axle, but there is a resistive coating in between the ring and the axle. The axle is rotated with the help of a machine from outside. When the axle is rotated, note that here we have shown the axle being rotated manually. Then the coil ABCD starts rotating in the magnetic field. Two stationary carbon brushes B1 and B2 are used to make electric contact with the conductive rings. These brushes are connected to a galvanometer, shows the direction of current in the circuit. Upon rotating the axle, the branch AB goes up and the branch CD goes down. That is, the coil ABCD rotates clockwise. According to Fleming's right-hand rule, electric current is produced in the branches AB and CD in the direction A to B and C to D. Thus, the current flows in the direction A, B, C, D. In the external circuit, the current flows from B2 to B1 through the galvanometer. Thus, the galvanometer shows the deflection on one side. If a coil consisting of several turns is used, the current increases several times of magnitude. After half rotation, the branch AB takes the place of branch CD, and the branch CD takes the position of the branch AB. Therefore, the induced current goes as DCBA. But the branch BA is always in contact with the brush B1, and branch DC is in contact with brush B2. Hence, in the external circuit, current flows from B1 to B2 opposite to the previous half rotation. This repeats every half rotation and alternating current is produced. This is what is called as AC generator. There is one more type of generator as discussed earlier, known as DC generator. What will be required to make a DC generator? Come, let us discuss about it. Let us first draw the diagram of DC generator. The main components of DC generator are a copper coil ABCD, strong magnets, split rings, carbon brushes and bulb. DC does not change the direction in the external circuit. To achieve this, a split ring is fixed on the axle like a split ring shown in case of an electric motor. A bulb is connected across the brushes to indicate the output current. When the coil rotates in the magnetic field, a current is induced in the coil. As the coil rotates, the split rings attached to the end of the coil also rotate. The brushes B1 and B2 make electric contact with the split ring. Let the coil rotate in clockwise direction such that branch AB is moving downwards, while the branch CD moves upwards. The current induced in the coils is given by Fleming's right-hand rule. Here, the induced current in branch AB is
outwards,
while in branch CD it is
inward.
Hence, in the circuit, the current flows from brush B1 to brush B2. When the coil AB rotates, it becomes right angles to the field. The contact of the ring R1 with the brush B1 breaks. Similarly, the contact of R2 with B2 breaks. The coil continues to move due to the inertia, and the branch AB comes in front of the north pole. Now, the ring R1 comes into contact with brush B2 and R2 with B1. The direction of the induced current in CD will be in
outwards
direction, while it is in
inward
direction in branch AB. The current in the outer circuit is from B1 to B2 in this half cycle also. Hence, the current in the external circuit flows in only one direction in both the half cycles. This process continues and a direct current is obtained.